Hello, welcome back to the channel. Hope everyone's doing okay. Thank you very much for tuning in. So, just a video, I think we all know the drill on these ones. It's a video showing what I spun over the weekend because I've got a very good selection to show you here. So, I thought I'd run through everything and have a little chat about them. Before I proceed, I'd like to give a quick shout out, if I may. There's a new podcast online at the moment. It hasn't been going too long, but it's been done by a quite long-term viewer of mine and often commenter called Danny. It's him and his mate Simon, and the podcast is called But Have You Heard It on Vinyl? So Danny alerted me to this podcast before Christmas, and I have been tuning in. I've gone through most episodes, but you know, as he's been a regular viewer, and as I think the podcast is extremely good and would appeal to anyone who watches this channel, I thought only fitting, to give it a shout out and a recommendation. After all, this is what we do. So yeah, the podcast it's on various kind of streaming platforms. You just have to Google it, but I will attempt to put a link in the description. I think there's probably about 6 or 7 episodes of it, and it's been going probably just over a month. But I have to say, unbiased review, it's great. It's really great. I mean, these two guys, they know their stuff. They really know their stuff. Obviously, I don't need to tell you what it's really all about. It covers all sorts of topics about what they've been listening to, what's released at the moment. And God, yeah, they know about so many bands and artists. Some I'm kind of vaguely familiar with, and lots I haven't heard of. So please give it a check out. It's very well produced. To be honest with you, for a new podcast, it sounds like they've been doing it for ages. So please check it out. Give it a listen. I guarantee you won't regret it. You will really enjoy it. So anyway, time to show some records. So let's get on with it. Right, first we got this. It's Frigid Pink, Defrosted, second album. They didn't. I think they did 3 albums, maybe even 4, but this is their second, and I've got both of them, both the first 2, which were released on Duran in the UK. I love that back cover. I think the back cover's better than the front cover, quite frankly. Yeah, not a bad record, not bad. It's 1970 or 71, 1970. It's kind of quite a typical hard and heavy bluesy rock band. It's very kind of typical of the time. If you like your kind of bluesy hard rock, this is pretty much essential. For me, it is a bit kind of endless riff heavy, but it does have its moments. I think all the best tracks for me seem to be on side 2. There's one, there's a lengthier track and one that gets a little bit jazzy, a bit frantic. But yeah, it's not a face melter for me, but it's certainly well worth having if you like early 70s hard rock. It's extremely, as I say, of its time. So well worth checking out. And yeah, as I say, it's a UK original on Duran. A little bit tricky to find. It's not a massive rarity or anything like that. So in a similar kind of vein, another band from the US. Hard rock. This one's called Free For All, and it's by Bangus. Now, Bangus, I think, did do 2 albums. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think they only did the 2. It's released on Mercury Records and never ever had a release in the UK. Neither this or the first album were released in the UK. I think it was kind of US, Canada, maybe Germany as well. I like this one a little bit better than Frigid Pink. I've had it a couple of years, gave it another spin, and it's just a lot more varied. It's kind of heavy psych, but they kind of branch off into sort of other directions. It's a bit kind of proggy, some tracks are a bit kind of quirky. There's a bit of psychedelia there as well. For those of you who are interested, because I know some of you on here love a white label promo. This is a white label promo. I haven't really got many white labels like this from the US. I think I've only got maybe 2. And when I ordered this off Discogs from a UK seller a couple of years ago, I don't think he'd advertised it as a white label promo at all. It had just been listed in the kind of regular issues. So this was kind of a bit of a bonus when it turned up. But yeah, I mean, if you can find it, excuse me, sorry. Decent album. Really good cover of Savoy Truffle by George Harrison. Being a White Album fan, I kind of approve of this. But, you know, some Beatles covers, you hear them and they're like, no, you know, that's either too, you know, it's too much like the original. But they kind of do their own arrangement of it, and it just really works well. So, yeah, Free For All by Bangus. Well worth checking out. Good album. Right, next up, we've got this great record, New Model Army, Thunder and Consolation. Nice UK original from 1989. So I wouldn't say I'm the hugest New Model Army fan. I mean, they've been going years. I think they've never stopped. Still going today. I think they're still around and tour. And, you know, they've never actually kind of split up. I know they've had a good few lineup changes. But this is a great record. I mean, as a band, from what I've heard, they kind of sit between the kind of heavy metal and punk kind of categories, but they chuck in quite a bit of folk as well. They're kind of, you know, their lyrics are very kind of bitter, very political, and this is no exception. Production on this is slicker than their earlier albums, but considering it's 1989 and some of the production going on in the late 80s was absolutely polished to within an inch of its life, this isn't too bad. It's just, you know, it's just not quite as raw, but it still has the energy and hasn't kind of, you know, sold out or anything like that. So that's very, very good. It's a great album from start to finish. Not a bad track on it. I think the standout track for me is track 4. It's called Inheritance. It's just so sort of stark and bitter. It's just this kind of rolling drum beat with an occasional piano note, and just the vocalist is just, yeah, in an angry mood. It's just really, really good. It seems to be going up on price. I've still got the price. It's only a post-it note on there, but I've still got the price label of £15. But this doesn't turn up much, and it seems to be going for more. I only bought this about 5 years ago, so do snap it up if you can see it. Unfortunately, it's an EMI pressing, so it's absolutely late 80s, a wafer thin vinyl, and comes with a really thick cardboard sleeve, and they were just not kind to each other. So on the quiet moments, you are getting a bit of background noise. Nothing too bad, but I think even ultra clean pressing, you might have minor problems on it. So do check the quality if you pick that one up. Do check the condition. Okay, firm favourite of mine, a favourite artist and a favourite album. It's Joe Jackson with Big World. Oh, I love this record. Absolutely brilliant. So while it's not strictly a double, the story goes that he had about an hour's worth of material. So kind of just about too much to press on vinyl and get good quality. But, you know, certainly not enough for a double album. It was kind of, I think, recorded and made with, you know, CDs were becoming prominent. It was recorded for the CD age. So as a compromise, Joe Jackson convinced his record company to release it as a 3-sided record, with side 4 being blank, but still charge as a single. So he didn't have to cut any of the tracks or compromise the quality. So what can I say? Brilliant, absolutely fantastic. This one is a live recording. It's all exclusive material. It's not a live album, you know, that he, where he's recorded at all. He actually wrote the material and wanted a kind of, I think, just a live and spontaneous feel. So he got his band, rehearsed them, took it on the road, and then he recorded 3 nights, which I believe was in New York, and got the best cuts and put them all together. Consequently, this sounds brilliant. And again, I mentioned New Model Army, because it's recorded live, it doesn't suffer from the kind of mid to late 80s, there's kind of some of the dreadful overslick production that we got. It does sound raw, but the sound is so clean and clear. It's for a live recording, it sounds tremendously good. It is really good and brilliantly performed. All the cuts are great. It's a wonderful, wonderful album, and to my ears, one of his best. The good news is I see this, like all of Joe Jackson's 80s albums, I see this all the time. And it is, well, certainly in the UK, it is never, ever more than £5. Joe Jackson albums are plentiful and they're always around. They're in every record shop and they always seem to go for between about £3 and £5. And pretty much all of his albums are excellent quality. So if you fancy a good quality bargain, you could do much worse than picking this or indeed any Joe Jackson up. I'm reading about this album. I don't know how true it is. Apparently the audience, because it was recorded live, but there was still an audience there, but they were kind of instructed not to clap. Now I don't know how true this is, or whether they were instructed not to clap until the song are completely done, because there's no kind of audience noise at the end or cheering in the middle or anything or hand clapping. It does kind of sound like a studio recording, but there's very little evidence of any sort of audience at all. But I don't quite know how true it is. I know Joe Jackson could be a bit sort of stubborn with things like this, gets his own way, but yeah, interesting. Excellent stuff. Okay. Here we go. So another album on Duran. Self-titled by Michael Gibbs' debut album. I've got a feeling I might have shown this before on the channel, but I can't quite remember. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I can show it again and talk about it again. This is a brilliant record. This is so good. What we've got here, we've got jazz rock fusion, but it's a big band and it's just full of session musicians of the time. It's like an absolute who's who. You've got, there's just dozens of musicians on here. And it is brilliantly recorded, brilliantly performed, and sounds absolutely great. If you like jazz rock fusion, it's not terribly out there. It's not massively experimental. But certainly if you've got a decent hi-fi, this sounds absolutely great. Michael Gibbs, I don't think he plays any instruments on this. I think he was just a composer and conductor and band leader. I think that's what it is. In fact, if you look on the back, you can just see him at the conductor's chair. But yeah, this is so good. So good. There's a second album on Duran called Tanglewood 63, and I've been after it for ages and haven't managed to find one. I am looking in the wild. Obviously, no disc. If you watched my last video, no Discogs from me at the moment, and that's still going all right, by the way. But yeah, if you can find this, it's going to be a little bit pricey, but unlike some things on Duran, it's not mega dear, and it is out there. So yeah, do try and track that one down. Okay, next up, we've got a band. Oh no, I have mentioned this band a few times. This is Motorpsycho. Now, I'm not too sure if you can quite see that. In real life, you can't really see the sleeve design. It's supposed to be a rose. You can just about see it, I think, on the camera. But yeah, if you look, the actual title is small. It's called Let Them Eat Cake. What year is it from? Ooh, come on. Right, I can't see it. It's from the 2000s. It's either late 90s or 2000s. I don't know. The thing is with Motorpsycho, they have done tons of records. They're one of these bands that kind of surprises me how little known they are, considering they must have done at least 20 albums and been around decades. And, not only that, are extremely good. They're a hard band to pinpoint because they started off kind of as a real, kind of sludgy, heavy psychedelia sound. Later on, they went into much more of a sort of heavy metal / progressive sound, also very good. But mid-period, they kind of lightened their sound and turned into almost like a kind of, they did a few kind of indie albums. And this is one of them. And it works. It's brilliant. It's kind of neo-psychedelic. There is a little bit of prog influence in there, which of course is right up my alley. And do you know what? When I got it, I played this a lot. And we're going back, God, how long ago? Must have been about sort of a good, more than 15 years or so. And I haven't played it for so long. And it was like, it's like being reacquainted with an old friend. Some of the tracks I'd actually forgotten how they went, but when they came on, I was like, oh my God, yeah, this is great. It's brilliant. This is fantastic, as is any Motorpsycho. If you like heavy metal or just, just a band that you can explore with a huge back catalogue, they are just worth checking out. And this is a great pressing. It's on a label called Stickman, German company, and it sounds fantastic. Last but definitely not least, we've got this banger. King Crimson, Larks, Tongues in Aspic from 1973. So I was inspired to dig this out by a documentary I watched by Rail New York City. No, he's not called that anymore. Correction, he used to be called Rail NYC. He's now called Rail's Prog Rock Docs. And I will leave a link in the description of the documentary he made on this album and put out a couple of weeks ago. If you like prog and you haven't seen his channel, you, for goodness sake, check it out, because his documentaries are awesome. They are so well made. But anyway, I thought I've got to give this one a spin again. For years, this used to be my absolute favourite King Crimson album. I think one or two others may have taken over in recent years. But do you know what? I was as flawed listening to this as I was when I first got this. And I got this when I was like 16 or 17. I was at college. It's unusual for someone at that age in the 90s to be listening to this sort of stuff. But that's what I was doing. It doesn't sound like anything else out there. I mean, the opening track in particular is just, it starts off so quietly. It's just 3 minutes of not far off silence, really, percussion, and then this riff just bursts in, and it's so thrashy, so loud, and then it just goes off on all sorts of tangents. The whole record is, I mean, it is a challenging listen, really, to the point, there is so much going on. They had a mad percussionist called Jamie Muir. He was only on one album. He wasn't with the band long, but it's just percussion overdrive in places, and there's all sorts of disconcerting sounds going on. But at the same time, you've got sort of really mellow songs. You've got, Book of Saturday, Exiles, very mellow, quite tranquil, easy to listen to. But other bits of it are just, frantic, heavy, and it's brilliant. It's an absolute masterpiece. I've never had such an album with such light and shade, and then just sort of heavy. It's funny. You sort of even when you look at the actual record itself, those of you in the know, anyone who collects records kind of knows what the quiet moments look at, and if you can sort of see that, you can just see in the grooves there. Look how much loud and quiet there is. You can actually see it. It even before you put it on, you can see that this is something that's sort of really all over the place. Must have been a piglet to master. It must have been. But I don't know what more I can say about it. It's absolutely essential prog rock. It's just, there's nothing else like it out there. I mean, they follow this lineup of King Crimson, followed that up with two more excellent studio records and a live one. And they're absolutely great. But I mean, this one is just them at their most experimental, at their maddest. What more can I say? I can't say anything more. That's it. I've said it. That's enough. That's it then. That's it. I've showed my records. That's it for now. So, as always, thank you for your continued support. Thank you for all the views and comments. Subscribers are always going up, but if you haven't subscribed, please do, because I know many of you, I get statistics showing that I'm getting viewers without subs, but the subscribers would really, really help the channel. So if you could just hit that like and the subscribe button, that would be an excellent help. I will be back soon. I'm hoping to get out and about again, do some shopping, show some footage, obviously, hopefully show some finds as well. So until the next time, take care of yourselves. Thank you for tuning in, and see you all again soon.